Hey everybody, welcome back to Blue Fin Aquatics. My name's Andrew and we are here to share with you our years of experience and knowledge. So in the last few videos we were talking about the carbon hardness and also the general hardness, and we also talked about softening the water. In this video here we're going to be talking about your pH and how we can lower the pH naturally rather than using what we'd like seeing is like uppers and downers in some chemicals. And the only problem with those chemicals is that you've got to play with them a bit until you get it right, but also be prepared too, if you don't, your tank is going to crash, and when it does crash it generally kills all your fish in the tank. So think about what you're doing if you're going to use those chemicals. But the way we do it here, we use a natural form that we go through and do. And we use a product which is called peat moss, which you can find in any garden setting, centre itself. But you've got to also remember too to make sure there is no phosphates or any fertilisers incorporated in that. So what we use here is the peat moss. We'll just show you what we use. So this is the peat moss here. We use that. What we generally do is put that into stockings. We give it a bit of a wash once they're in their stockings, and then we lower that into the water itself depending on what you're breeding and how soft you want the water. As we all know, our neutral is 7, so if you want to go higher, obviously you want to bring your alkaline up higher if you want to be in the 8 series. But if you want to bring it down low, such as what we do with our Discus, the water needs to be more acidic, and this is where the peat moss actually comes in, because that leaches the peat moss out of the stocking basically, and it does discard the water slightly as well, but don't be put off by that. So what that's basically doing is bringing down the alkaline and bring it more to an acidity where it sits comfortable for the fish and the best fish that you want to breed in it. Now with what we do with the Discus, as we know, the water for the Discus has to be, and the carbon general hardness has to run about 3. Okay, so this is generally why we use the peat moss, because also it brings down into the acidity range as well, so something to think about. But that's basically what we do in the natural way. But if you choose to go through and use uppers and downers, as I said, you've got to be mindful that your tank may crash. Doing it the natural way, the only thing that will happen is that your tank becomes too acidic. The water, this is done by just removing some of the water out of your tank and putting fresh water in. But again, just remember, if you're doing Discus, that you need to put some RO water back into it, and just make sure you keep your GH and your KH to a very low level in a percentage of about 3. So doing it the natural way, as we were saying before, the only thing that will happen is that the tannins will leach out and your water will become slightly tea stained. But again, we've mentioned how to lighten that back up. So depending on the fish that you want to breed, and if they want harder water, obviously you've got to increase the alkaline. If you want to breed fish that generally have to have soft water, such as your Discus and some of your aquariums and so forth, then you need to bring the acidity down a bit, so keep it in line with how they like to breed as well in the soft water, because a lot of these fish too, if the water is too alkaline, what happens then is the outer side of the eggshell will harden very quickly, so therefore the male cannot penetrate the sperm into the actual eggs themselves, hence why the GH and the KH is a very important part. And now with your pH, bringing the pH down to a very low level for about 6, where we keep it for our Discus. If you keep it there, you'll have great success with that. Anything higher and the alkaline goes up, then you're going to find too that your eggs aren't going to be very viable. You may get a few through, but not as much as that you would like. So that's something to keep in mind. So over these past few videos, we hope you've gained a bit of knowledge from regards to your GH, KH, and now with your pH and also softening. This is an ideal situation where you understand the chemistry side of raising fish and how to go about doing it, depending again on the species of fish that you're doing. So from there, for our tip of the week, as we know, in Perth, WA, the weather is increasing. We're going to 40 degrees plus on consecutive days. So this is where the temperature of your water, depending on where your tank is, will rise slightly, whether it be 1 or 2 degrees, and sometimes it'd be too much, particularly for the fish. Whereas for Discus, they're fine. They'll sit in 30, 35, they're okay. But remember, very simple, just turn your heater off. People think that, you know, you can leave your heater on and it does cut in and out and stuff. Well, yes, that is true. But then if your heater is pretty faulty, or you don't know it's faulty, it can increase the heat in your tank and it can knock your fish around. Plus, if there's more heat in the water, which then requires more oxygen for your fish to breathe. And then you'll see the change in the fish by them sitting at the very top gulping for air. So the other way we're looking at it too, to cool your tanks, like all our galleries, they've got reverse cycles in them, split system, so we can turn it down to cool our tanks. And this time of year too, with our Discus, we don't have the heaters on. They're sitting in the tanks, but we don't have the heaters on because we find that the heat in itself keeps the tank at a steady level of heat for the fish. So something else to think about. And also too, you can also put ice blocks in your tank depending on the size. But another thing is too, there's nothing wrong with doing a water change as well. So if you want to do a say a 25-35% water change, that is also beneficial for your fish. But again, don't forget to put your chlorinator in. So that's our tip for the week to keep your fish cool. If you have any questions, please comment. If you like to subscribe to the channel, please do. If you like or dislike the video, please do let us know. And if there's anything we can answer for you, please get in contact and we'll see how we can do. So until next time, we'll see you in the next video.